Okay, take two. I just recorded this entire video and another video, and my mic was muted the whole time. So, hey, I'm like a professional artist or whatever. Don't ask me what that means exactly, because I don't think anyone actually knows. My professors claimed it meant that you make money off of your art, as the college took all of my money. But I think I've put enough time and effort into this whole art thing to call myself a professional. If you ask me what it means, even though I literally just told you not to ask me that, what the heck, man? I would say if you make art, you're an artist. Whatever. Who cares? You don't need to monetarily gain from it to be an artist. That's dumb. And you don't need to go to college to be an artist either. Speaking of college though, I gave a little insight to my experience as a studio art major in this video here, where I ranted a bit about AI and its use within college art classes. But that really only grazed the surface of my college experience. Because I am a certified yapper, I believe I'm qualified to discuss the absolute tomfoolery that is college art courses. Now, my experience isn't going to be the same for everyone. Every college is not the same, aside from desperately wanting all of your money. And I've heard others talk about their college experience as a far worse experience than mine, so take everything I say with the biggest of pinches of salt. I have a lot of things to talk about, but to keep this video concise, I want to specifically talk about art for art's sake. If you aren't quite sure what this means, basically it's the idea that art doesn't need to be justified to be beautiful or valuable. An artwork doesn't need to send a message or make some sort of political or social statement. It can exist purely because the person who created it wanted to. Why did you paint a woman? Because I wanted to. Why did you have her sit by the water? Because I wanted to. Why did you make it nighttime? Because I wanted to. In art school, at least in my experience, the main focus seems to be on contemporary art, which I guess that just technically means current day art, as in art made from the 1970s to now. Which, I mean, yeah, so what? Well, the issue I have with this is the main focus on contemporary art is almost always political in some way, shape, or form. There's usually abstract depictions of mental health, race, gender, war, stuff like that, which I don't actually have an issue with any of this, but it leads to professors expecting their students to have a concept behind their work, which I don't have one. I did not start drawing as a child to talk about the oppression of women or homophobia. Doesn't mean I don't care, but what the heck am I supposed to do with my art to express this? I just want to draw pretty ladies. And I'm not saying professors encourage concepts, it's a requirement. For me it was, at least. We had to have a concept behind everything we did, and by our last year, we were expected to have a consistent body of work that all fell under the same concept with like 20 unique pieces. So, what's the concept behind this? Huh? You know, what are your thoughts behind this piece? Oh, I just like drawing women. I think they look nice and it's relaxing to paint them. Okay, but what's your concept? I just told you. C-. I mean, I guess I kind of get it. Like, they want to push you to tell something more interesting with your art than just, thing looks nice, so I paint. But I think maybe that approach should be saved for an illustration class where you're specifically trying to tell a story with your art. I mean, the concepts aren't even about telling a story, really. At least that's not what it feels like. It feels like propaganda. Like your art is only good if you're shitting on America and society or whatever, which we can have that conversation, but why do I feel like my art class has turned into a gender studies / American history class? And I liked my gender studies class. I thought it was really interesting. I just don't want to mix that with my art class. leave that in art history. The concept I ended up sticking with was kind of broad, so I was able to explore more things, but it was mostly revolving around trauma, specifically trauma that women face considering I am a woman, although I started leaning more towards trauma in general to be more inclusive since men's trauma is severely downplayed, but I was trying so hard to make this concept obvious throughout my art that I ended up hating everything I made. None of it was stuff that I would have normally made, and if I tried taking something I would have normally made and conjuring up some story to make it sound like there really was a concept behind it, it was pretty obvious that I was forcing this concept to stick where it didn't belong, which all of my art ended up feeling like. Even when I came up with the concept first, I felt like I was just bullshitting my way through all of my classes, because I absolutely was. Which isn't to say that I wasn't still putting a lot of work in, but I know my art would have looked a lot nicer if it was something I actually wanted to draw or paint. If you just don't care about the thing you're making, it's gonna be obvious. There was a lot of times that I found myself having to justify what I was making to my professors because to them, it just didn't have enough of a concept. It's like, but it looks good. I was also really burnt out because 4 studio classes, all with their own big assignments due with like 2 or 3 week deadlines, is so draining. Like, I did not have time to eat. When I tell you my appetite is still absolutely wrecked because of college. Man, what in the fresh out of the oven crispy bullshit? So I made my way through my classes by being a grifter, basically. I just adopted this super woke personality and projected it onto my work because that's what got me good grades. And it worked! It's not like these weren't issues I cared about. I just don't care to include that into my art. Maybe if I was making a comic or something, but one single image, I don't like trying to force an entire story and political message like that. It feels super forced. And this might sound kind of weird, but I felt like I was exploiting these social issues for the sake of attention and a good grade. Like, the suffering of women isn't a cute, quirky art piece. I don't like drawing dismembered women for the sake of making some call out of society and the objectification of women. I really just think it's kind of cool looking. So let me make art for art's sake. I think there's probably a deeper conversation to be had here about colleges trying to force an ideology onto their students, but I just want to talk about art. I'm not a drama channel, really. I'm just a salty college grad. But I'd like to hear your stories, so share in the comments if you want. I try to read all of them and respond to most of them. Anyways, bye!